Today we are going to talk about power in dogs, and then we will discuss two sorts of power. One is absolute power, and that's what most people refer to, and the other is relative power. So what's the difference? If you look at the absolute strongest dog, you will picture yourself a dog that is extremely strong, big, often also bulky, and that's exactly what it is. Absolute power means the biggest amount of power possible, and therefore you need mass. So you need a relative big dog. An example of absolute power would be the South African Bull, a very strong, very big, heavy dog. Another one would be the Ofsharka, also very big, almost a bear-like dog, or the Bull&Terriers, that gigantic dog that's still being worked. Some very big dogs, for example the Irish Wolfhound, are also powerful, but not to that degree. And also Great Danes can be very powerful, but they are not being worked anymore. And they have a different kind of power, and also a lot weaker hips and joints, which limit their power. So then there is another source of power, which is relative power. And that's my preference. So what is relative power? It still has the same properties of power, of course, and the maximum amount of it, if possible, but it is limited by the weight or other dimensions. So for example, maximum power at a specific weight, but could also be maximum power at a specific chest circumference. And why chest circumference? Well, chest circumference would mean if a terrier can go to ground or not. And then if you have maximum power for that go to ground stage, this could be beneficial. And here you see an example of that. This is a Patterdale terrier, so a terrier that is a specialist for earthwork. And then for the chest circumference that he has, he will bring enormous amounts of power. An example of a dog that brings maximum power for a specific weight could be a gladiator type of dog that is pitted at a specific weight range. For example, American Pit Bull Terrier, and in the past also the ancestors of the Irish Staffordshire Bull Terrier. But you could also look at, for example, running dogs. They have maximum speed for a specific weight, because if they weigh too much, they had to had different distances to cross. So sometimes they were also pitted against each other on a racing course, and to see at a specific weight which could cover the most distance. So it gives you some insight. But normally, therefore I didn't start with this, on a racing course you can still compete, also if you're bigger or smaller, but you will just get a little bit of handicap or favor to just balance it out, so to say. And what is the benefit of absolute power if you only have one dog? If you only have one dog and you want to have, for example, the strongest dog to pull a cart in the past, or a dog that, if you only were allowed to keep one dog or keep one dog with you, you would have the strongest possible defender, for example, which was the origin of the Molossus. And you might say that those Bull and Terrier breeds are better protectors, or band dogs, and crosses between Mastiffs and Bull and Terrier types, and you could be true. But in the past, the molosses were a lot better also in character than they are now. And you still have molosses that carry a lot of that, for example Bull. And then that added weight will make them much better at being a man stopper. So very often these fights don't take as long, that you really need the Bull and Terrier influences for them to continue. If it does, of course it could be a good thing. And still also a van dog is very often a lot more athletic than a pure mastiff, pure molosser. So there are still benefits, but that gives you some example. And why would you want to have a dog which is relatively very strong? So compared to its weight, for example. Well, in that scenario you could keep quite a small dog like this or one of the Bull and Terrier breeds and still have the maximum amount of dog for that specific weight, which is a nice thing. And you still don't have to keep an enormously big dog. You have a dog that's very brave, also if it's a Bull and Terrier. And you have a dog that is very suitable for different conditions. Their energy and their need for walks is often higher than that of a bigger dog, so take that into consideration as well. But they are easier to feed, easier to keep, and also for other people they are not that intimidating. Also you can let your children, if you are big enough, let them walk the dog, because they can still harness its strength, because they are powerful but they're very small. And there are other benefits. If they're running the field, they will have far less chance of becoming injured. They live a longer life. The smaller dogs also mature faster than the bigger dogs. And because they mature faster, live longer and are longer functional, you get a lot more of dog for your acquisition, so to say. And that are big benefits that I find. For example, if you look at the Bull and Terrier breeds, for example American Pit Bull Terrier, a dog bred for combat, and that dog is an enormous athlete, which is a very good thing, whereas an absolute powerful dog might not be so athletic. For example, Bull is quite athletic, but not compared to an American Pit Bull Terrier. Also not if you would scale it down. And it's an enormously fast dog, also for such a powerful machine. And nimble, because it doesn't have all that inertia to overcome, and also can be quickly changing direction. To have a dog that it would be easier to use in a wider application. For example, a smaller dog like this could be even used in earthwork. They are good at ratting. You don't need a stronger dog for ratting. The smaller dogs are often a lot more active, so you have more of alertness. And of course they will lose out in man stopping ability. But in this day and age, you don't need that much anymore. It could be that you live in a very rough neighborhood and that the dog makes all the difference. Good for you, and I can imagine that would be a very nice thing, but I can also imagine if you had like 3 or 4 dogs the same kilograms together as in one dog, and if they had a good drive, that they would offer similar protection, if not better. So there are different routes at getting to the same destination. I think you don't need, in my opinion, to have that enormous big dog compared to those smaller dogs, especially if you have a multitude of them. And why? Because, as I mentioned, there's also other benefits for protection even, because those big dogs take more time to mature. They are not ready before they are age 2 very often, and they will max out at age 9, even if you have a very healthy breed. Whereas with this Bull&Terriers already with 1 year of age till, for example, 11 or 12, they can be very functional. So you get a lot more lifespan and also functional lifespan out of this combination, and also very often with less health problems, which is a big plus. Well, I hope you liked this video. Have a great day.